Hey, cutters. Doing another video today, and what I wanted to really explain was our well, it's not new, it's been around for a while now, but the Clenergy ezQuote system or online tool for anybody who hasn't used this tool. And really, there's multiple parts to this system, but today I'm going to be talking about how to prepare a ground mount quotation. And so, if you're working the solar game, if you're looking at installing a ground mount system in the future, need assistance with design, or trying to figure out how to do a bill of materials, hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll be releasing more content like this moving forward. So, jumping in, what you can see here is the main page of the Clenergy ezQuote system. If you want to get to this page, you can see here in the bar here, we've got the site address. All you need to type in is basically this portion of the address. You don't need to put in www. In fact, if you do, I don't think it'll work. You just type in ezquote.clenergy.com and it'll bring you to this page. On the page here, you can see we've put in the customer public access. So what you do is just type in customer for the user login name, and the password is Clenergy with a capital C 2020. So once you put in those details, hit the login, and it will bring you through to the main page. And here we are. So what you can see here is this is like the main page of the tool. You've got multiple areas here which you can utilize. There's a button here for the ezQuote roof mount system, which is where if you want to design a bill of materials for any type of roof mount system, you can click here and it'll take you through to that area. Today we're going to be going through the ezQuote ground mount tool. It's a little bit less complicated than the roof mount tool, not that either of them are complicated. The layout is extremely simple, and you'll see that shortly. But I thought to start off, we'd start with something a touch easier, which would be the preparing the BoM for a ground mount system. You've also got a link here to the Clenergy homepage, also a link here which will take you directly to where you can download our resources and manuals, installation guides, which now include our engineering certifications and brochures and whatnot. And then there's a user guide here for if you get stuck and you need to you need assistance with what sort of information to provide. Also, this video will be a good resource. And then there's a link here to an old ezQuote. So this is actually the second iteration of this tool. We've had this now for probably at least 3 years, I would say. And this tool was designed actually originally with the intention for to be utilized by our internal engineers. We needed an easy way to put together bill of materials for quotations. Previously, it was all done on spreadsheets, and it was very messy, and there was multiple versions. And so the beauty of this tool is if we add a product, release a new product, which we're doing all the time, it'll automatically turn up on this tool. Or if for the direct partners, we'll have their pricing in here. And so if there's any price fluctuations or you need to find out what the price of something is, you can also access that through the tool. And as we update it at our end, it updates at your end. So you'll know if you come here, you'll always have the latest information, the latest engineering, the latest products and whatnot. So I would encourage you to use it. And so let's jump right in. So we click the ezQuote ground mount button here, and it brings you to this page. So you can see this is the basic information. And so first thing it's going to ask is what's the project name. So we'll just call it test site for now. Customer name, we'll just say XYZ Solar. The area, so this the background information and what I'm referring to is really the structural engineering certifications are done for both Australia and New Zealand, and so you can select either region. And then you select your state, so it's got all the states in here. I'm in Victoria, so I'll select Victoria. Next up, it's going to ask you for which product type, where you select whether you want Salters 2A which you can see over here. And this is just highlighting the different versions of that product. So you've got the single support, which is more predominantly for like 60 cell panels because they're not as long, and the double support, which is usually utilized for 72 cell panels. Depending on the information you put in the system, it will actually select whichever system is the one that you require, which is handy. And you've also got our Solteris 3A system also, which thing here, which you can see here. So this one here is it's like a double foot solution. It's also suitable for 60 or 72 cell panels. And the reason you would want either a Solteris 3 or Solteris 2, really, by far we sell mostly Solteris 2 in Australia. The good thing about Solteris 2 is that it's suitable for most soil types and most areas where you want to install. It's a hybrid system, so it's actually got a steel. I'll just jump back here so you can see it. It's actually got a steel post. That's a galvanized steel post, and then the rest is aluminium. So we call that a hybrid system. With that post, it can either be rammed into the ground, or you can also auger out a hole, say a 300 mil hole, and maybe 1 to 1.5 meters deep, and you can drop the posts in, you can concrete them in, which makes this a really versatile system. It's been used for projects as small as 10 panels and as large as I think, we sell a lot of this system over in Japan. They go up to 50 megawatts in size. So, and it's very easy to install. So predominantly you'd want to be going for the Solteris 2A system in most cases. Now, where you would go for a Solteris 3 is areas of high corrosion. So if you're in a very corrosive atmosphere, then this system, being all aluminium, fares better in those types of atmospheres. And we can also provide additional anodization if required. So if you come back to us and you say you've got a system that's in like a C5 or a C4 or a C5 corrosion category, then we can customize this with additional anodization so that we can still provide the same 10-year structural warranty on the product as you normally get. And so that's one reason. Another reason is if you've got a particularly challenging soil, for example, very sandy soil, then this system can be used with ground screws, which provide a bit of a better hold in the porous soil condition sites. Also, if you've got for example, we're looking at a project at the moment which is a landfill site where you can't penetrate the soil more than 400, 500 mil or something like that. So in those cases, this system can be attached to concrete pads, so you can have concrete strip footing, concrete pylons, really whatever your preference is. So for now, just because, also we've got PM, which stands for post mounts. Post mounts are really simple, and you don't really need the ezQuote tool so much for the post mount, because when we sell our post mounts, they come in kits. And so the post mount kits, you've got PM 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8. That's the number refers to the number of panels that you can actually fit on those kits, and they'll come with everything, even everything to the clamps. But for today's example, we're going to focus on the Solteris 2A. So I'll click Solteris 2A. Now, also, will make a quick mention. If you want more details about any of our systems, but specifically now we're talking about the Solteris 2A, Solteris 3A, and you can go to our website. And here you can see it here. It's just clenergy.com.au. There's a lot of there's heaps of information on the site. In order to find it, you just go to support. You'd click mounting systems, for example, and it brings up this page. There's FAQ. You can find a distributor if you need consultancy or information about for specific larger projects. You can click here. There's also an area for downloads as well. So I'll just click here and show you quickly what that looks like. Yeah, this is the download section. This is actually the same link that you've got on the main page of the ezQuote tool. It'll bring you to this page. And from here, you can download all of our installation guides, and these installation guides now contain our generic engineering certifications if you need information about those. We've got brochures, catalogs, and whatnot. But for now, if I go to products, so if you come to products, mounting systems, and select solar terrace, it'll bring up some more information. So here you can see you've got the Solar Terrace 2, Solar Terrace 3, both of the same systems we were referring to before. If you scroll down, you'll get a bit of a description, which goes a little bit more into detail about what I spoke about before, about the benefits of each of the systems. But the really cool thing here is you've got these videos. So we've made these 3D videos, which basically run through for you, from start to finish, what it looks like for, this is the Solar Terrace 2A, how it goes into the ground. So here you can see, it's showing the X and Y axis and the ramming of the posts, and then, how the post head is attached on the top. And really, they're great. They're really good for, looking at a bill of materials is great. There's a lot of detail in there, but what I would suggest is if you're doing this for the first time, once you've created your bill of materials using the ezQuote tool, come back to the website and just run through a couple of these videos, and you'll see it shows all the part numbers. So you can say, okay, this part number relates to that part. That's how it all goes together. If you want even more details, and when it comes to the time of installation, you need this, then yeah, you can jump back to that downloads page and download the installation manuals, which has got everything you need to know to install one of these things. So let's just jump back into the ezQuote system. So we put in our project name, customer name, area and state, product type. So we're going to run with the ST2A at this point. And then you click the next button. And so it brings up now it's asking for your module information. So, in this case, you're putting in your panel lengths. So it might be, 1956. 992, we'll say 40 mil panels, and then you put your panel power in there, so it might be a 330 watt panel, and then just click next, so it's easy. Next up, it's going to ask for your system parameters. So it's asking here clamp type. So do you want the standard or the universal clamps? Just as a refresher, I'll just jump back in here and show you what the difference between those two products is. Pretty sure that's up here. So the standard clamps, what we're looking at here is an end clamp. This is a standard clamp, and what we mean by standard is it's designed pretty much specifically for different type or thickness of panel. So this end clamp might be an EC ST40. It'll have a 40 on the end, and that's been designed for a 40 mil panel. You've also got these dual clamps, which are a bit more adaptable. So, this one would work depending on where you put the bolt for either a 35 or a 40 mil panel. These are standard type clamps. And then you've got a mid clamp or an inter clamp, same deal, designed for panels of a certain thickness. A couple of years ago, we released our universal clamps, and the benefit of these is that they're very adaptable. So this one, for example, you can see this here. It's suitable for panels that are 30 to 46 mil. So really, it spans the entire gamut of panel thicknesses. And so it can be a little bit easier if you want to hold stock of something, and you're not, you're working with multiple different thickness of panels or different panel manufacturers, then that might be the clamp for you. Okay, so that's what they're asking there. In this case, I'll stick with the standard. Next up, it's asking about the rail combination. So the rails are the rails obviously attached to the girders of the ground mount system, and then the panels are clamped on top. It's saying, look, it's giving you an option here for different variations of lengths of those rails. And so when you do the bill of materials, the system will actually look at the length of the arrays that you put in and calculate the optimum solution based on what you put in here for the length of rails that you want to use. The reason it's set as standard on 4200 or 5200 mil is because those are the lengths that we stock, that we manufacture and stock locally as a standard item or a standard length. Alternatively, if your wholesaler's only got only stocking, not both, but only stocking, say, 4200s, then you can say, okay, I only want to use 4200s for the BoM, or alternatively 5200s. If you can wait for if it makes sense, and this is usually for larger ground mount systems, and you can wait, I guess 8 to 9 weeks for the products to be manufactured and shipped out of China, then you can select optimized rail as well. And what that will do is it will look at all your arrays and the setup of your arrays, and it will actually give you the exact optimized length of rail, and we can manufacture to that spec and send it out. But it takes a little bit longer. So in most cases, we would just select the 4.2 and 5.2 meter rail options. In this case, you've got your C-post type, standard C-post. That's blanked out. That's the only option at this stage. If you want rail caps, so rail caps are just the plastic caps that sit on the end of the rails, and close off those rails, make them neat, make sure that critters don't get inside and cause problems. So I'll leave those in there because they're good. Cable clips, so the cable clips are the little clips that you clip onto the edge of or the rim of the underneath of the panel, which you can clip your cables into, which helps with your cable management. So you've got an option to say no, or 2 pieces per panel. If you do select to use them, and I will in this case, you can select the different types. So there's a 2 cable clip and a 4 cable clip, and what that is just the amount of cables that you can actually clip into these clips. So I'll stick with the 2 cables, and I'll say I want 2 per panel. This next one here it's asking about microinverters. It's actually microinverters and optimizers. So if you're using either or, micros or optimizers, and you clicked yes here, what that'll do is it'll give you a little nut, a Z nut, which is the nut that's designed to fit inside the channel of our rails, and a bolt and a washer, so that for every panel it'll give you one of those, and then you can use those to attach the optimizer, for example, to the top of the rail underneath the panel. I'll select no on that for now. Spares, so it's got a little simple calculation in there. If you select yes to the spares needed section, then it will give you a few spares extra. Alternatively, you can add in, you'll see a little bit later on, once we export the bill of materials, you can add in, there's a column for spares, so you can add those spares in later yourself if you want. In this case, I'll leave them in there because it's always handy to have a few spares in case something gets lost on the site. It's also got an option for inverter mounting. So we've got inverter mounting brackets that are suitable for pretty much all inverters. They mount to the legs of the either Solitaire 2 or Solitaire 3. So if you know how many inverters you've got on the system and you want to purchase the brackets as well, you can leave that in there. For now, and if you do leave it in there, you just need to specify in here how many inverters, and it will automatically work out which bits and pieces it needs and throw those on the BoM for you. I'll just select no on that one for now, just for simplicity. And we go next. Okay, so now it's talking about certified spacing. So it's asking for wind region, and in a previous video, the structural engineering checklist video, I went into more details about what wind regions are, and so we'll put a link to that in the description of this video if you want to go back and watch that one. That'll give you much more details about wind region, terrain category, all types of things. In this case, I'm in Vic, so because I selected Victoria, it's only giving me an option, one option, which is for wind region A, because it's the only wind region we have in Victoria. It's also going to give you an option for tilt angle. So, 20 degree might be more suitable for projects north of Byron Bay, I suppose, Brisbane, North Queensland, those sort of areas. In our area, down here in Victoria, I think the optimum tilt angle is something like 28 degrees. For the highest yield. So I'll leave it at 30 in this case. So based on all the information we've put in now, it's actually giving us a maximum frame spacing. And this spacing is based on the generic engineering certificates that, it's been fully analyzed by a structural engineer, signed off by a compliant structural engineer, and these are the frame spacings that it's coming up with based on the information. And so it's pretty good, 3.2 meters. It used to be less, but we we bit the bullet and we did some actual wind tunnel testing on these products, which helped us to give us more accurate data and actually meant that we could be less conservative on the spacing. So I think this used to be 2800 a couple of years ago. Since we did that wind tunnel testing, it's improved quite a bit. So it's at 3200 for wind region A, 30-degree tilt angle with 72 cell panels at the moment. It's also an option to change the install frame spacing. You might want to do this for various reasons, but so it won't allow you to go longer than 3.2 because that's the max that under these conditions that the system's going to be able to withstand. But you can go less for whatever reason, in case you want to put in more posts. Or anyway, the option's there if you want to use it. Just a general note here, the spacing is from the generic engineering that are based on wind average occurrences, interval 100 years. If you want more details about that, what you can do is you can go back to the website here and to the area that we were talking about before, which was the download section. And then we go down to Solar Terrace, and this is Solar Terrace 2A. And so we'll click the Solar Terrace 2A installation guide. Let that load. And so on that guide, you've got all the installation details. There's also, I believe, you've got all your components in there. So it shows pictures and images of all the different components. So that will help. All the tools and components needed. This here is just some notes about the how they came up with the numbers for the spacing. This is prepared by a structural engineer. So if you get audited or you need to find out more information about how all this was calculated, all of the little bits and pieces of information required are here. Talks about the soil, different soil types, how that affects the spacings and whatnot. It can actually change, but the system, the ezQuote tool is set to I believe 100 kPa bearing pressure. So it's set on basically not a great soil, but a conservative soil that you would expect, probably like a silty, sandy, clay type soil. So yeah, in that installation guide, you've got many details, and then I believe further down, you've got all of the installation information, and then even further down here, we've got the certification letters for that product. So all of the information is here. It's got all the details that you would ever possibly require. It's very thorough, and it's fully signed off, in this case by GAMCore. So that's there if you need it. So jumping back to ezQuote tool, so we've done the basic info, the module, the parameters of the system, the certified spacing. So next up, we're going to put in the arrangement. And so what the arrangement is this is your arrays, basically. So this is, you've got your panel plan, your panel layout, and this is where you put in the information. So in this case, the first column says number of rows. What that's referring to is, and I'll just go back to the product section here and show you. Number of rows is, they're talking about vertical rows. So in this case, you can see there's two panels. So there's a bottom panel and then another panel on top, and they run all the way along the array like that. So it's just that's all it's saying. Two panels per row. And so when you enter that information, that's actually blanked out. You can't change that, nor would you want to. And so, but what it means is, so for example, if I put in, if we know it's 2 panels per row, and then we go number of panels, we say 10. It's giving you a total panel count of 20. And so what it's actually saying is, if you're putting in 10 panels, how many panels wide is this particular array? And so if it's 10 panels on one layer down the bottom and 10 panels on another layer on the top, overall you get 20 panels. So that's how you need to input the information in this case. So let's say I don't know. Usually we advise not to go longer than sort of 30 meters on your arrays because of thermal expansion, and so generally optimum solution is for each array to be a 60 panel array. And so let's say we've got 10 of those. So under here, it's number of arrays. So now we know, okay, this is a 60 panel array. How many of those? 10. Okay. And so it's saying, okay, there's your spacing, 3200. spacing quantity. That's how many gaps you have between legs in this case. So so that means we've got 10 legs, which means there's 9 gaps basically between each of the 10 legs. Your rail combination is saying it's giving you 6 4.2s and 1 5.2 on the very end to cut that off. If you want to, if you've got multiple arrays, like if all your arrays aren't going to have the same amount of panels in them, what you can do is you can add. So you click the add button here, and then you can add in whatever you want. So, you know, you might have 10 60 panel arrays. You might have 5 30 panel arrays or something. So I'll put those in there like that. Okay. So now it gives you a total panel count down the bottom here, a total array count, and total kilowatts. So this at the moment, we're just a touch under 250 kilowatt ground mount system. So let's click next. I'm happy with that. Let's say that's the design. And here's your output. So you can see here it brings up, it's itemized everything in item numbers. It's got your part numbers in there. Because I selected 40 mil clamps, it's giving me the ER, EC, and ERIC SD40s. So they're the 40 mil inter and end clamps. It's got your rails. So you can see it's got your T110, 4200 rails, your 5200 rails, various quantities. It also gives columns here for the different quantities for the different arrays. So this makes it really easy for staging when you're installing, because when you're unpacking the solution, you can stage everything out. You can say, okay, each of my 60 panel arrays, because remember it's 2 times 30. So each of my 60 panel arrays, each one needs 8 end clamps, 116 mid clamps, 24 4.2 meter rails, 4 5.2 meter rails, 24 splice for the rails. These are the joiners for the rails. T-rail clamps, these are the clamps. If you go back and watch the videos, you'll see these are the clamps that attach the rails to the girders of the supports. It's got all your supports in there. These are the SD2A double supports because it's a 72 cell panel. It's got your C posts. These are the steel posts that can be rammed or concreted into the grounds. There's this one here. Post brace, these are the braces that attach to the side of the post where your actual brace is attached to, and then at the top they go to the girder. Once again, I would really encourage you, once you've done your bill of materials, so that you can familiarize yourselves with the parts that we're looking at here, because I won't go through everything today. Jump back into the website, go back to those videos. Remember, all you need to do is just go to the clenergy.com.au. So, you know, go into products, mounting systems, select Solar Terrace, which we've done here, and then you go down to the bottom section, and you've got these videos. You say Solar Terrace 3, that's one. Solar Terrace 3 with ground screws. You know, there's heaps of information in here, and it's a really good way to visualize what the bill of materials is saying. So you've got your BoM there. So I've got my accessories at the bottom as well. So I asked for some cable clips. It's included those in there. It's got your quantities. It's got a total quantity for everything. It's got your spares. Remember, I selected yes to spares, so it's given us some spares in there. It's got total quantity inclusive of spares, and if you scroll across here, it's got a description, a unit description. It's a unit or a piece or a set or whatever it might be. Okay, so you've got that. Now, what do? What you want to do is there's a button here, the blue button you can see. It's called Export. SOW. SOW stands for Statement of Works, and so I'll click that here and download this, and I'll show you what it looks like. While I'm waiting for that, I'll have a little sip. Okay, so you can see it's downloaded. Open that up, and you've got a couple of tabs here. So SOW, Statement of Works, that's what we're looking at here. It's inclusive of your bill of materials. It's also got a little bit of extra information up the top here about the system itself. And then it's also got a pricing column. So what you can do, you can take this BoM and save it, obviously, adjust it as required. If you want to add some spares or remove the spares, up to you. You can send this off to your wholesaler, and then they can just fill in the price section for you, and that'll give you a total price. It's also got a freight column there, so the wholesaler can include the cost of freight if required. Failing that, if you've got a price list from your wholesaler for these items, then you can just add that in yourself, and then you'll know very quickly. Okay, this is within 5 minutes I can get a quote, everything I need for this project that I've got to get a quote in for this afternoon, for example. So it's very easy, very powerful tool. So that's that. Also on the tab here, you've got SOR. That stands for Statement of Requirements. So this has got all the details you put in now. So at least later on, the reason this is good is because later on, if you save this and you want to refer back to it later, and you can say, oh, something changed, maybe the project changed slightly. You can't recall whether you did it correctly, you put in the correct information, the variables changed, the scope has changed, whatever. It saves all the details in here for you. So you can go back and you can say, okay, yep, this is the project name, product type that I use. These are the panel dimensions I put in. Every bit of information that we put in there is now summarized in this document. Even your arrangements, it's all in there. Spacings, this, you can print this out, take it to site. You've got all those details with you there, so that's really handy as well. So that's basically it. There is one more feature here of the system, which is the BoM tool, and this, if you click this, you can see it brings up the bill of materials for you. But what it's doing is, I don't use this very often myself, but if you want to get the weight of each of the components, it's got the weights in there. If you want to know what the material that's been used, it's got, that's a 6005 T5 aluminium. It's got the material information about the majority of the products, the specs, so dimensions. Also, even further, if you click these, if I take this end clamp, for example, and I click the plus here, it tells you every item and barcode for each of those items that's in an end clamp. So you've got the end clamp itself, the Z module, which is the nut, the washer, and the hexagon socket head cap screw. So it's got all of these details for every item in there. You can export it as well if you wish. Personally, I don't use this very often, but sometimes it's handy to know. So that's all in there for you. So once again, thanks a lot, Cutters. Hopefully that's been of some value. If you want to continue to, if you want to support us and continue to receive notifications about these videos, hit the subscribe button. We're going to continue to create more and more content for you guys. I think it's very important. And once it's online, it's there forever. So you can always refer back to it. And yeah, that's it for me today. I'll be releasing more and more videos shortly, but thanks a lot. Cheers.